everyone, this is Neha and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to explore the 5 main operators that are required to work with resources on Move language. So let's get started. Alright, so let's look at the 5 main Move global storage operators. This will give us everything we need to basically interact with our resources. Now let's look at the first Move global storage operator. We have something known as a move underscore to. So as discussed, resources and modules both are stored under the account container. So what this move underscore to does is that it basically attaches a particular resource to an account, and it takes the first parameter as the signer. The signer is basically a special data type which indicates something similar to how we have the message.sender on Ethereum. This is basically the caller of the function. And the second parameter is the resource that we will be attaching to this particular signer account. Now this function will abort if there is an already existing resource of the same type at the particular signer address. So in MoveLang you can have at most one resource of a particular type attached to a particular account. Now the second operator that we're looking at is called move underscore from. Here T basically denotes the data type or the name of the struct, and the address denotes the account address from which we will be removing a resource. So move underscore from is responsible for removing an already existing resource at a particular account or detaching that particular resource from a particular account. Here we don't need the signer object, meaning that the person does not need to be the caller of the function. You can just pass the address. And if you see, we have a colon T, meaning that it will return the resource as well. So you can have something like let x underscore resource is equals to move underscore from, let's say, coin at a particular address, and you will be able to access that particular x underscore resource afterwards. Now the third and the fourth operator here are kind of similar. We have a borrow global and a borrow global mute. Both of these operators allow us to borrow a reference to that particular resource, but the difference lies because borrow global allows us to borrow an immutable reference to that particular resource, and the borrow global mute allows us to borrow a mutable reference to that particular resource, meaning that borrow global will allow you to do operations like read or view, and the borrow global mute should be used when you actually want to modify the data that is present in that particular resource. This is something similar to how you would have studied in C++, like a copy by value and a copy by reference. Now the move underscore from operator fails when there is no existing resource at that particular address as it should be. Now the borrow global and the borrow global mute references obviously fail when again there is no existing resource at that particular address. And the last operator that we'll be talking about is exist. It checks whether the resource of type T is present at that particular address or not, and returns us a boolean true or false. And because it just returns us a boolean true or false, there is no abort statement associated with it. Now let's imagine a flow here. How would you actually use all of these operators in conjunction? So let's say that Sneha has a resource called ice cream, and I wish to transfer it to my friend Shrishti. Let's see how the flow would look like. So let's write a function which would be called by my friend Shrishti to basically claim my resource. The function would just take her as a signer and my address as an input. First step would be to check whether the resource exists at my account or not. So we'll just write something like exists ice cream at my particular address. If it returns a true, only then we move ahead. Now for the sake of this example, let's imagine that this ice cream resource within has an attribute called flavor. And let's say that Shishi only likes chocolate flavored ice creams. So since here we just need to read one of the attributes within our resource, so we can just say something like borrow global ice cream at my address and just do a dot operator and get the flavor attribute. We can write an if-else condition to check whether the flavor attribute is actually chocolate or not, and then move on. Notice how we did not call the borrow global mute operator here, since we do not wish to modify any attribute in the resource. Now that we have our check ensured the ice cream is indeed chocolate flavored, we can go on to the move underscore from function, because we intend to remove this resource from my account. So it will be something like let ice cream underscore resource is equals to move underscore from ice cream at my particular address. And this ice cream underscore resource that has been returned, we can then basically pass this on to our move underscore to function, which is as the signer in the first parameter and ice cream underscore resource in the second parameter. And that is exactly how we can move the resource from my account to hers with some more additional checks in place. That was it for this video. Hope you had a good time. Take care. Bye.